And intent corruption. It took me a while to realize, but the FNAF series is all about corruption, at least in a metaphorical sense. Sure, the story is about kids getting murdered and possessing animal-themed robots, but a huge theme of the series is corruption. William was corrupted into killing, those kids were corrupted by William, the animatronics that got possessed were corrupted, the restaurant was corrupted, and corruption is an even more prevalent theme now, and like it's literally occurring. Like with William literally corrupting a hard drive that gets scanned into FNAF VR, which he then corrupts, you know, because he corrupts the game. William corrupts Jeremy and gets him to off himself. He corrupts Tape Girl and Vanny. He corrupts animatronics in Security Breach and Special Delivery. Each of his children get corrupted and killed. Like, it's a main theme of the series, and William can't die until the corruption stops. I just thought that was kind of cool. It's present literally everywhere. And at 9, spring locks. A lot of people didn't understand what I was talking about when I was saying that Crying Child's death makes no sense, so I'm going in depth here so I can explain how the spring lock mechanics work in universe and how this applies to Crying Child's death scene. The term spring lock in and of itself is kind of confusing, since it can be used to refer to multiple things. A spring lock can talk about an animatronic that can switch between suit and robot modes, like Golden Bonnie that William uses to kill the original 5, and the Golden Freddy we see in FNAF 4's cutscenes. We know it can be a suit because we see William putting someone into it in one of the mini-games in the back room. And spring lock is also a term for the mechanism used to hold back robotic parts in those specific suits so a person can fit inside. We know these can fail when exposed to water, since this is how William got stuck in the Springtrap suit in FNAF 3's minigames. So most people assume that Crying Child's tears loosen the locks of the mouth, and that's why he gets chomped. But that was already in animatronic mode, so the spring locks weren't active, and they couldn't fail because they aren't in use. And there wouldn't need to be any in the mouth to begin with, only the pistons used to move the jaw up and down since no human body part is in the mouth. And if we're wrong and this is just an animatronic without suit capabilities, there would be no spring locks in the suit at all. Now a human skull would require 1900 newtons of force to be crushed, something way beyond what should be used for an animatronic. And even to fracture it, it would require around 1100 newtons, something that would require a piston that uses its own air compressor, and you would need multiple of them. Since that's something we don't see on stage with Freddy, and it would be something that would be impossible to fit inside of him, because like air compressors are huge even with our current technology, that's why Crying Child's death scene is impossible. There is no physical way the animatronic could have crushed his skull, unless there's something going on that we don't know about, which is entirely possible, but highly unlikely. And at 8, paper shadows. Shout out to YouTube user XXShadowFredbearXX-0- for pointing this one out to me, because it actually is really interesting and it's a detail I never noticed. If you have a small detail that I have yet to cover, please let me know in the comments. The comments are really helping me get through these videos, especially this one, so go shoot your shot, and if you do, you might just get a shout out if I use your point. Anyway, Shadow Fredbear pointed out that the Paper Pals, characters I talked about in the previous part, who could seemingly move around at will, are the characters that have shadow counterparts. I described the Paper Pals as Bonnie, Freddy, and a humanoid that could possibly be Balloon Boy. However, the human-like character who has a shadow counterpart is Dee Dee, someone based off the looks of Balloon Boy. The other animatronics, Bonnie and Freddy, each have shadow versions as well that were introduced in FNAF 2. What could this mean exactly? Unknown. I need to kind of work on it. This is something very interesting and I'd like to get to the bottom of it. And at 7, golden background. FNAF 3 introduced the mechanic of needing to make repairs. Maybe the ventilation got shut down, or the audio was corrupted, or maybe the camera stopped working. And if any of this happens, the player needs to reboot that system. While you do this, the cameras you see are just static. However, sometimes the static can sometimes show the face of Golden Freddy. Like, dude, I know times are tough having to deal with like 15 missing children at this point, but there's no need to turn into a cam girl. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Oh crap. I'm not getting out of the semi. No matter what, it is indeed possible to see the face of Golden Freddy in the static. It's not clear, it does take some keen observation, but it's quite subtle. But once you see it, you will never be the same. Mostly because you'll have seen it, and that means that you will have changed, because before, you hadn't seen it. Logic. And at 6, upgrades. How on earth is this franchise able to upgrade its location constantly? You'd think that after multiple deaths of the joint's prime clientele, that the place would be ruined, right? But then these folks come in hitting us with that Freddy Fazbear Mega Pizzaplex. How do they have the money to open a whole, basically, mall after so many kids have gone missing in their establishments? Why do parents let their kids go here? It can't be that they think that it's fake, right? I mean, like, who would believe... Oh wait, I know who would believe that it's fake. The same people that believe that 5 kids actually went missing in a Chuck E. Cheese instead of realizing that it's just a Twitter picture and like a meme. Like, it's funny because it's backwards in this like analogy. I'm sure they wouldn't believe if it actually happened, and only believe that it happened here because of the games. Like, but I mean, who knows? Clearly not them. It just doesn't make sense to me. How is this good publicity? Like, even if you go by any publicity as good publicity, this isn't it. It makes no sense, especially in this scenario. Halfway through into number 5, history. Is FNAF history repeating itself? It's an interesting question that we should probably discuss, since it seems like it might be. This idea started when I thought about how both dummy-thick versions of Chica lose their beaks, and it escalated from there. Because it seems like William is taking the lives of his original victims again, well, at least by name. Granted, we don't know Tape Girl's name, and it could be Vanny, and we don't know who our character plays in we don't know who our character's name is in FNAF VR, and that could also be Vanny, but technically Vanessa, you know what I mean. Because as Glitchtrap, William has already taken the life of Jeremy, someone we know to be the one who possessed Bonnie based on the FNAF 3 ending, as well as the gravestone screen from FNAF 6. He made Jeremy cut his face off, like how Bonnie at the end of the Pizza Party minigame in the final room is missing his face. We don't know what became of Tape Girl, but she could very well be represented by Chica as well, someone we thought was okay, but then turned out to be incomplete, ergo the missing arm. Not in possession of all her marbles, should I say, as the final tape seems to indicate. It's interesting, and maybe Gregory in Security Breach will end up being the next crime child, but hopefully not Napkin Kid, because Christ. Would that be annoying. And at 4, why Henry? In the original FNAF novel series, to my knowledge, the characters of William and Henry are introduced as business partners. William is the businessman who handles the financial and actual business side of the company, while Henry is the creative one who really works on the animatronics. This could be wrong, but this is how I've been explained and understand their roles. And the characters in the games at least have a similar role layout, with Henry making loads of new animatronics for FNAF 6. But we also know that William was the one who modified the animatronics, or corrupted them, see, full circle, and was the one who built the sister location animatronics and had a robot business called Afton Robotics. So my thought is, if William was already capable of creating these things and this entire company from scratch, since we know that Circus Baby's Pizza World opened after Freddy's, why did William involve Henry at all? Like, wouldn't it just be a liability? Having someone work so closely with the things you intend on using to kill with? Like, it seems stupid to me. Some say that a criminal career starts with too much caution or too much arrogance, but to me, this doesn't seem like either. Maybe too much arrogance, but he had already started killing at this point, so like, what the hell, dude? Was it to keep him close because you wanted to kill his daughter, or was his daughter actually yours? And at 3, debunked. On April 1st of the year or the year after it was released, Scott added Nightmare Freddy, Foxy, and Phone Guide to Ultimate Custom Night. Each of their mechanics was based on a debunked FNAF theory. Most interestingly, Nightmare Freddy's mechanics were based off of Dream Theory, proving that these games are actually happening and it's not a dream, which makes everything more complicated because now, God, we have to figure this out properly, and you can't just go around saying it was all a dream. Anyway, the Dream Theory along with Foxy being helpful and the Phone Guy being Purple Guy were all confirmed 100% false at this point, resulting in a whole lot more issues with the series, because I can't just say that it was all a dream. Even if I wasn't doing it before, now I can't do it ever. Only FNAF 4 was a dream. It was like a coma dream. Great. Penultimately, in at number 2, Forza Crowd. I proposed the idea last time that perhaps William and his wife, or baby mama, but most likely wife at this point, had 4 kids instead of the 3 we see on screen. This was mostly based off the Immortal and the Restless TV series from Sister Location, where a woman was telling a character meant to represent William that he had a son that clearly was his, but William was denying it, or I guess Vlad was denying it, proposing that maybe he thought she had cheated or didn't want the kid. And after discussing genetics and trying to explain to the people who didn't really understand, it just shows how likely this scenario is. If the babies came out blonde, William might have just thought that they weren't his. But I think later that William realized that the baby was his and wanted her back, or perhaps I'm wrong about the whole he denied it originally thing, and instead he wanted her all along. But it wasn't 100% with me yet, it was still just a theory. Until this comment from YouTube user Saber Sapphire on the Last Tiny Details video. I think we can all agree that Ballora is an allegory for Mrs. Afton. She isn't possessed because she would have had to be alive to run away with a child, but that after she left, William made this robot as a way to cope. We can also agree that she is a mother figure to the Minirinas, and that's what got us all thinking that she was meant to be the mother in the first place, aside from her song. Well, Saber pointed out the number of Minirinas that Ballora has: 4. Ballora has 4 children, and if she is meant to represent the mother of the Afton kids, this will only solidify this theory more for me. Finally, into number 1, motivation. While this number isn't based on this comment, a comment from user B Cooper helped spark this idea in my brain, along with the last comment. They said, I think the 4th child is Vanessa, and she was Elizabeth's twin. If there is actually a 4th Afton kid, and if Vanessa is that kid, it would make sense for her to have been Elizabeth's twin. She's the proper age, and they both are blonde with green eyes. We don't have many other features for Elizabeth because, you know, she was an 8-bit, but with the information we have, it matches, and it matches well. It could also be potential motivation for William. Maybe that's why Susie was first, because she looked like maybe the mother perhaps, with blonde hair and blue eyes. Maybe William has green eyes, or like I explained in number 3, they both have the gene, even if it's not visible. This could also be the inspiration behind Baby's mechanics and why the fun times are meant to capture children, so he could use them to find his other daughter. Hence why he told Elizabeth specifically to stay away from Baby, because he had programmed Baby to look for and capture a child that looked exactly like her because they were twins. He never told Crying Child or Michael to stay away from them, right? At least from what we saw, because they weren't in danger. This could be it. I am 100% certain at this point that the Aftons have 4 kids and that the mother ran away with the 4th. This has to be what's going on, right? It has to be what's going to be revealed in Security Breach. And 10, Freddy in the bathroom. Freddy is in an odd situation when you look at things from an outsider's perspective. Sure, we know he likes to hide from the camera, and technically these robots have no sense of biological sex, but like, come on, Freddy. You should know not to hide in the girl's bathroom no matter what, unless you want to get cancelled. However, that's not the scary part. Even though AI sentient enough to have that kind of crisis coming was pretty damn terrifying. The scary part is that what if we've been wrong this whole time? What if Chica isn't the only girl in the series? If Freddy is also a female, this could flip everything on its head. If we can't even understand who Freddy is meant to be, can we really trust anything we know about the series? We thought Scott threw a curveball when he added himself canonically into the games, but what would happen if Freddy was female? Oh boy, I'm having an existential crisis now. And 9 scrapped features. It turns out FNAF had a whole load of features planned that were never actually implemented fully or that were changed last minute. I talked about how Freddy was only meant to jump scare you after you lost power in another video, and I talked about a few others in different FNAF lists. If you guys want a whole list on scrapped FNAF features, let me know in the comments. Is it something that people would actually want because it's something that I want to do? Or is it more so something that I do just to talk about things and change things up, because we're kind of running out of FNAF lists. If you have any ideas, let me know. When I look at these features that I want to keep hidden for the purposes of another list, if you want it at least, I can only imagine how different the game would be if they had added these things like alarms for every hour, or animatronics coming down other hallways. It would have changed the game and potentially made it worse for wear. Number 8, Afton's Flesh. In Five Nights at Freddy's 3, we were introduced to the character known as Springtrap, the golden spring-locked bodysuit with William Afton barely clinging to life inside. He has been poked and prodded more than people who claim to have been abducted by aliens, and while he is still alive, it appears as if he's just been rotting away, or hell, even just gotten his skin torn off when the spring lock's activated, resulting in him getting spiked in multiple places, but still somehow surviving. In some of the scenes/menus we can get in Five Nights 3, we can actually see that this is the case, as we get a close look at Springtrap with his mouth open, revealing the hardly living body of William Afton inside. His skin has been peeled off from the looks of it, or it is at least extremely raw, but no mistake, that is old Willie Afton sitting in that suit. This can be seen regularly, and there's no need to really do anything specific to see it, but it does require a keen eye, and I can tell you I never noticed it. I can't even see the ketchup when it's right in front of me, let alone something hidden underneath a golden spring bodysuit. And it's 7, time travel. So, time travel is possible in the FNAF canon, and at least in the Fazbear Frights book series, since the first book, Into the Pit, has a story talking about someone getting into a ball pit and time traveling, hot tub time machine style. But like, does that mean anyone can have this happen to them? Like, is it possible that anyone from the games could have this happen to them? Perhaps Gregory is Crying Child, who fell into a pit and got sucked into the events of Security Breach, and then we'll go back in time at the end of the game, or well, I guess go back to his time at the end of the game, showing why he fears the animatronics and being in a pizzeria. Maybe William can time travel through the games, and this is him in the far future. There are so many possibilities. Like, maybe this is why the timeline doesn't make any sense, because someone keeps changing it. I solved FNAF. It has its own Barry Allen. And at 6, the Hidden Skull. Man, FNAF 3 has a lot going for it, doesn't it? The FNAF 3 minigames are honestly the main game of FNAF 3. You gotta play them to get the right combo of numbers to dial into a brick wall, then you gotta click the toy Bonnie on your desk to get the glitch minigames, and then you need to put 5 kids to rest in order to get the good canon ending to the game. However, if you really pay attention during the free roam minigames, if you head to the supply closet, somewhere I don't believe that Shadow Freddy brings you, you can see the same supply room from the first game. However, going off script doesn't help you just to see a nostalgic location. Actually, it can reveal something even more sinister in the form of a child's skull on the shelf in the background. Yeah, in a series all about missing children, we get one of their skulls right behind us as we head up to be dismantled by the purple guy. I mean, I guess we're the dead child in this scenario, because we've already possessed the animatronic. So does that mean that it's our skull, and that's why we don't pay attention to it? Or is it because we were killed, so we know it would be there? Halfway through number 5, Exotic Butters. The security logbook is really appearing a lot in this video, and that's because in the hype for Security Breach, we've forgotten all about the that is this book. Not only does Mike draw Nightmare in the book, a representation of Crying Child's death, he also draws things connecting him to other games, like Exotic Butters and baskets of money from Sister Location, or a gravestone seemingly similar to the ones from FNAF 6's gravestone ending, or the casual bongos from Sister Location, and a Freddy Fazbear logo with blood surrounding Freddy's mouth, like how Crying Child got chomped, or spooky animatronics and ghost sheets, which could be a reference to the missing children's incident from the first game, since FNAF VR's Curse of Dreadbear DLC wasn't out yet. And this is ironically on the same page as the maze, like the corn maze from that game. And why is there a picture of mangled up Chica on the very last page of this book? So many damn questions that we just forgot about thanks to the new game. It's exactly what he wanted. And at 4, paper plates. Let's take a break from FNAF 3. In FNAF 2, on one of the cams, you can see 3 paper plate crafts that resemble the 3 main animatronics. Sometimes though, they can take on a mind of their own. At least the Bonnie one does. It can sometimes not appear on the camera view and then just later appear in your office. How did it get there? Who placed it there? Was it an animatronic? If it was, why didn't they attack us? Was it a phantom animatronic? Can they even do that? Is this plate animatronic possessed? Was a kid stuffed into the paper plate bag? Like, I know this is a horror game, but like, come on! Nobody else is working there at the time, and so how the hell did this thing move? Oh, and also it could have happened in FNAF 3 too. It was a short one, but it was a break nonetheless. And at 3, Gotchaverse. Unfortunately, in the FNAF canon, there are now multiple timelines and multiple dimensions thanks to the confirmation of the Fazbear Fanverse initiative. However, that basically means any fan fiction about FNAF is true in one form or another, and any theory about FNAF is correct in one universe, which unfortunately means that there is an entire canon version of the FNAF Gotcha fandom. Don't get me wrong, it's cringy and it really shouldn't exist, but technically it's canon in another Earth. I don't know what to do with this information. It just kind of makes me sad, honestly. And ultimately, at number 2, Living Proof. Let's take another break from FNAF 3. Okay, that's enough. In FNAF 3's minigames, we see the story of how Springtrap came to be. We see Afton dismantle the animatronics and then unintentionally release the spirits of the dead children, who then come to spook him or get an apology. I don't know what the ghosts of 5 dead kids are gonna do aside from keep you in hell for all eternity until you escape by mind melding with VR video game testers. Anyway, as we see from the game, Afton gets scared by the spirits and then runs into a spring bodysuit to feel more powerful, probably hoping it would scare them because it was this character that killed them in the first place. However, thanks to the water dripping in from the outside, coupled with Afton's haste, he ends up getting snapped by spring locks and collapses. I've seen many comments over the months we've been talking about FNAF where people say that this is where Afton died. This honestly has never sat well with me. I always believed he was alive in the suit, and now I know why. In this scene, we never see him stop moving. Sure, he could have died and possessed Springtrap like some have suggested, but if that was the case, he would have stopped moving. He also wouldn't have eyes that are full of life like he does in the Springtrap suit, since, as I said before, we can see his flesh inside and those eyes are clearly his. Afton doesn't die in this moment, hence why I don't consider Springtrap an animatronic, because Afton is still alive and consciously controlling him. Afton himself is living proof that Afton never dies. MatPat even said it himself in his theory on that game. He said, "Notice he never stops moving." That's because he isn't dead. He only dies in Pizzeria Simulator after being lured back by Henry and being set ablaze, damning him to hell. Finally, in number 1, Butterfingers. On the main stage in FNAF 1, we see 3 animatronics, Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica. When we leave the camera or it decides to cut out for a moment, we can see Bonnie leave, and then Chica, and then Freddy doesn't leave until like night 4 or something, right? Well, as the animatronics leave the main stage, they drop their iconic item. Bonnie loses his guitar, Freddy loses his microphone, and Chica loses her cupcake. Why? Where did they go? Do they just leave them on the stage? Did it make it more intimidating? I need answers, Scott. Senpai noticed me. Both Scott and MatPat. In a 10, Special Delivery. Special Delivery is a weird game, and while I do mean the gameplay aspects like collecting Remnant, in this case I really mean in a timeline sense, since we know it takes place between Help Wanted and Security Breach, but what is the canonicity of this game? Are they actually trying to rebuild their image by sending out animatronics that were supposed to be friendly, or are they intentionally scaring people, and do the customers know if they're going to be scared, like a mail order killer service? Or do they expect an animatronic helper for around the house? And what is with sending out versions of the killer that ruined the reputation of the company in the first place? Like, is it a joke? Is it intentional? Do they know that was the housing for William after they thought he disappeared? Or is this all just fake? One of the games that we know within the universe. Are these animatronics really getting sent to your house, or are we as the player experiencing the same thing someone in universe would experience, like through their phone, an AR game? Like, what is actually going on in this game? In a 9, Hover Hands. I don't think I've mentioned this before in this series, but I noticed something that most people seem to ignore while discussing the ending to FNAF VR. Most people assume that we swapped places with Glitchtrap, that he takes over our body in the final fight. But if when you get onto the stage after he swaps, you can see your hands and headset are missing if you look back to the desk you were at. Your holographic hands are nowhere to be seen. Yes, your controllers are controlling the Glitchtrap suit hands, but if you're really swapped, you would see holographic hands at that spot, most likely waving and taking off the headset. So why aren't they there? Because we don't swap places with Glitchtrap, we merge with him. I think that this is fairly common knowledge by now, but when MatPat first released his video and said Glitchtrap escapes this game through us, nobody seemed to notice that, and he in fact didn't. So there you go. You should have heard it here first, but you weren't subscribed, so don't worry, it's okay. Speaking of that, if you're enjoying the video, why don't you hit that like button? It really helps us out and lets us know what you want to see more of, and while you're doing it, just click subscribe. We're so close to 500,000 subscribers, and we know you love FNAFs, so we're still making FNAF. In an 8, fanfiction. We know there are plenty of FNAF fanfictions, probably too many if I'm honest. The ones we've talked about here are creepypastas, but I guess in a way it's sort of theories. However, have we ever stopped to consider any in-universe FNAF fanfiction? Or, well, at least I guess Freddy Fazbear fanfiction? Whether it be about the games that are in-universe or the characters themselves. Believe it or not, there is in fact Chuck E. Cheese fanfiction, so it is possible. But what would these fanfictions be? What about this Silver Eyes or Fazbear Frights? The novel isn't fully connected to the games, only sharing some similar aspects and characters, right? That's what fanfiction is. And Scott wasn't the only one who wrote these books. He had help. The Silver Eyes was also written by Kiara Breed Risley as well. Hopefully I didn't butcher your name. If I did, I apologize. And Fazbear Frights had help from Ellie Cooper and Andrea Wagner. So technically, since they're not Scott Cawthon, it's just fanfiction that is considered canon. Huh. Gives you a lot to think about, huh? So go ahead, write your fan fiction. Just make sure that it isn't nasty. And don't ship dead kids with their killer or their dead sibling, okay? I can't believe that that's a thing. And it's 7, payoff. There has been a lot of crap that goes down in these restaurants. Missing kids, murder, animatronics that they felt needed access to a crime database to scan everyone that comes into the restaurant that ended up failing. But even after all of this, No lawsuits or anything? We saw papers talking about the missing children's incident, but nothing about lawsuits. The company shut down to downsize, but we've seen no evidence of a lawsuit or arrests. Sure, they had an investigation, but not a good one when there was obvious dead body stench coming from the animatronics. I don't care how sweaty and gross these kids and this pizza is, nothing would make it smell that bad normally. This to me indicates some form of a payoff at the very least, like maybe William has the police in his pocket, or a deal with someone saying that if he finds the key to living forever, that he shares it and he gets away. There has to be something more here. If I was a parent, I wouldn't stop until my kid had found justice. Like, where did these 15 kids' parents go?
And at 6, symmetry. FNAF VR has some interesting story elements that I'd like to point out to you. This was the basis for a personal theory I had a long time ago where I thought that in FNAF VR, we played as a man named Gabriel who was playtesting the game, since at the end we ended up getting stuffed into Freddy. However, there were other details that drove me to this conclusion, like for example, the fact that Glitch Trap causes Jeremy, a name that we know all too well in this series, to cut his face off, and then Bonnie shows up in the final room in the Pizza Party minigame, missing his face. And that Chica starts off without her arm in the Parts and Service minigame and shows up without the same arm in the final room as well. However, symmetry like this is everywhere in the FNAF series as a whole and not just in this game. Like how William would stuff his victims into the suits and then got stuck in one himself, etc. It's interesting and something I'm sure we'll see more of, so keep your eye out. Halfway through into number 5, Purple Guy. The FNAF community was up in arms over the true Purple Guy debate after the release of Sister Location and the discovery of the ending. In this ending, we have an end cutscene of Michael walking around after being scooped by Ennard, but then also turning more and more purple as he walked down the street after multiple days, making us question if he was really the infamous Purple Guy. He isn't, since the Purple Guy isn't physically purple, but this begs the question, why was Michael purple? Most assume that he was in fact a decaying corpse that smells bad, hence the reason for being fired in the original games, but that never made sense to me, since in every form of media, decaying or decayed bodies that aren't supposed to look realistic are shown as green and not purple, because like that would make more sense, at least in my brain it does. However, do you know what is purple? Bruises. We know he isn't dead, so why would his body be rotting? Because it's not. It's being battered from the inside, causing extreme bruising, hence why everyone is scared. They don't understand why this dude is like literally purple, and it's because of all the bruises. In at 4, fake. Much like any YouTube video prank, what if everything in this world is fake? The story, the death, the in-universe minigames, the animatronics and special delivery, help wanted. What if it was all fake and just meant to be a massive marketing stunt that went entirely wrong? Or hell, maybe it went horribly right. If Freddy Fazbear's was dying, much like how Chuck E. Cheese was failing, could it possibly be that Fredbear's was too? And in an effort to keep the business alive, William and Henry created a marketing scheme that would get them some publicity and even bring in some more customers that were fans of horror. I mean, it would explain why William was never convicted and why the investigation was so flawed. They didn't actually check the suits because there was, in reality, no bodies inside them. They never leaked blood or mucus or smelled terrible. Why would anyone go if they did? Or stick around when they saw it, or hell, even smelt it? It also explains how, even through all this horror, they were able to expand, eventually opening an entire mall that they called a Pizzaplex. Oh man, am I onto something here?
Getting close to the end, and at number 3, family portrait. Family is everything to a lot of people, and while Scott was stuck in a job he didn't prefer and kept failing at making it in the career he really wanted, I can't speak for him personally, but I'm sure his family was helping him get through it. His wife and kids I'm sure are one of, if not the reason he woke up in the morning, so in honor of them and to get some more assets for the game, he used their images wherever he could. Particularly in FNAF 4's hallway, all the pictures on the wall are Scott and his family, and in Ultimate Custom Night, the face of the one you should not have killed is a picture of his son with the contrast cranked to the max. Family is so important, and Scott both honored them and immortalized them in his games by incorporating their family pictures into them, which is so sweet and honestly touching. Something that you don't expect to get from a FNAF game. Man, if only he treated MatPat like that.
And at 2, Oswald. It may have come across as a joke when I said it in the last part, and how I mentioned that FNAF has its own Barry Allen that's going around messing up the timeline. But you know what? It wasn't. Not anymore, at least. Scott has stated before that the Fazbear Frights books are meant to help us solve bits of confusion in the main FNAF canon, like how William was able to survive being spring-locked and whatnot. But I believe that Scott has given us the biggest answer already in the very first story of the series. Into the Pit is the title of the first story and the first Fazbear Frights book, and is centered around Oswald, a kid who loves to draw but has recently been focusing on furry animals with robots inside. Eventually, he finds a ball pit that sends him through time into the past, where eventually he sees 6 murders and flees back to his time. But he does survive until the end of the story, which is kind of rare for these Fazbear Frights books. I think that it was on purpose. There are a lot of things that contradict themselves in this story, with statements from different characters changing the timeline and making it so damn difficult to navigate. Plus, now we have multiple dimensions to think about with the Fazbear Fanverse Initiative and the book series worlds. But what if the reason the timeline is so clunky is because Oswald is changing it? There isn't much of a connection to the games for these first couple stories, but looking at it like this has it make a lot more sense, and explains all the changes. It's like Flashpoint. Barry knew what was different because he was outside of the timeline change. We're outside this timeline too, and that's why we see the mistakes. This genuinely seems like the only explanation to me. I mean, I know it's highly unlikely, but I mean, what other explanation could there be? Finally, in at number 1, skins. FNAF AR doesn't only have a confusing story, it also has confusing mechanics. Like, for example, if everything is supposed to be real, where are all these skins coming from? And how is it possible? And to that, I think I have a solution. If these skins are meant to be real, because why wouldn't they be? If we can see them, they must be real, right? I think that there is a simple explanation that solves this issue that I've been having for a while. The illusion discs from the Twisted Ones novel that we also see in Sister Location. These, as we know, can easily manipulate the appearance of anything nearby, at least in the minds of individuals close enough to the discs themselves. And this is the most likely scenario to explain how we can change the skins of these animatronics basically at will. It just sets the disc to emit the proper sound, or however it changes the looks of these things. Right frequency, I guess? Which is honestly kinda cool. It would also be cool if we had this in real life so I could change my appearance whenever I wanted, but like just my clothing. You don't want to get rid of the moneymaker right here. Imagine just like changing skins at will like you can in Minecraft or Fortnite. Like, it would be fun, but like it would just be clothes. So you can just be like, haha, I'm wearing a banana. Haha, I'm a burrito. Haha, I'm a glizzy gobbler.
In 10, Nightmare. One thing that was mentioned when we first saw it, but more so forgotten, is the complexity of the security logbook. It messed with everything we knew about the series, but then messed with everything we thought we knew about the logbook itself. One of the key things that sticks out to me is the fact that Mike drew Nightmare on page 41. Those were just an illusion, which we know thanks to the Ultimate Custom Night's death voice lines from characters like Nightmare Freddy, who said, "This time there is more than an illusion to fear, and I am given flesh to be your tormentor." So, how could Mike know what Nightmare looks like? Crying Child was in a coma while he was seeing them, so he couldn't have described them, especially in that much detail. Where did he get it from? And at 9, FNAF World. Hell. FNAF World is a game I'm sure we'd all like to forget. However, what I'm seeing again and again is the importance of this game from a lore standpoint, both from the Helpy Facts lists as well as this one. From the Helpy Facts list, Helpy looks very similar to the style of the characters from FNAF World, and I propose that he could be a crossover character, linking the two games together in an unexpected way as an example of how you can escape a game world. But now I've seen that the characters of Tangle, White Rabbit, and Bounce Pot can all appear in Ultimate Custom Night, in motion using their battle animations. This not only links the game to the main FNAF canon, but also shows that William's idea of entering a video game and escaping from one came from FNAF World, a game that revolves around a game affecting the real world. And it ain't blood on the cover. The security logbook is a real point of contention for the series. Whatever, I'm not talking about what's inside the book content-wise. I'm talking about how there are literal pages covered or splattered with blood, and the restaurant just gave it to you as if nothing was wrong. What the hell happened to cause blood to get all over this thing? And thanks to the finish on the blood on the cover, at least the hardcover version, it's shiny, meaning it must be new. And I'm prone to nosebleeds, but I know that that is not a nosebleed. You don't lose that much blood. Well, unless you're me, but that's because I have veins that poke out of my nose, okay? I had to get cauterized in elementary school, which means I had to get like 20 small burns on my nose in each side, okay? It was a mess. But not even that would generate this much blood. So why is it covered in blood? We see coffee stains, that makes sense, but
but blood? And why are they only mentioning that someone else wrote in the book, not bled all over it? That's not sanitary.
And at 7, Glamrock Chica. While YouTuber Daka was doing a live stream for charity, when they would hit certain donation goals, they would unlock a new security breach teaser. One of the final ones was a picture of Glamrock Chica smashed in an alley or a jump lot of some kind, which first of all is very reminiscent of the scrapped animatronics from FNAF 6, but ignore that. There is one distinct detail that everyone noticed, but nobody seemed to really question further than why. And that detail being Chica is missing her beak. But not only did the same thing happen to Toy Chica in FNAF 2, but they also share the same body shape. Originally, Toy Chica lost her beak to make her scarier, and somehow Scott made it seem like it had bigger implications in the livestream from MatPat during the FNAF 4 days. Maybe it's because this was coming, or he wanted to make it seem bigger than it was. Or maybe Dream Theory was right for a time, but it isn't anymore. I don't know, I just figured it was an interesting detail that we should keep an eye on. Maybe how she loses her beak will be a big help in solving earlier problems. Or maybe there's something else in this image that I'm missing. I don't know.
And at 6, performance. It has been stated before that the voice actor for William Afton, PJ Hayward, based his performance for the character off of Anthony Hopkins' version of Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs, who, if you didn't know, is a cold-blooded cannibal serial killer in the movie. So bad that he's behind a full glass wall instead of bars, so he won't bite your face off. What if this is for more reasons than just being creepy? I mean, no body, no crime, right? If William was eating the kids his robots were trapping, it could cause them enough agony to create more remnant, and more remnant means more studying for the mad scientist, and one step closer to the answer to immortality. He didn't take killing kids off the table, something that most people in prison will even kill you for if that's why you're thrown into the slammer, so eating them isn't really too much of a stretch for this guy. Maybe it started off with him thinking that that's how he was going to get the answer. I mean, he originally stuffed them into the stomachs of the animatronics, right?
Halfway through at number 5, nicknames. The news clippings at the end of the FNAF games always focus on one article. The place getting shut down, the place reopening, the place burning down, and in the first 2 FNAF games the stories on the outside weren't actual articles. It was just some random text meant to fill up the space. It's commonly referred to as lorem ipsum, at least it was when I was in school. However, in FNAF 3, Scott decided to include some of the story of him creating the games for the fans with the more powerful glasses in the world. One article talks about how his last attempt at becoming a game designer was a toss-up between a remake of his first game, a sequel to another one of his games called Desolate Hope, and an entirely new game about animatronics and pizza. He went with the latter obviously, and that was probably the best decision he ever made. However, later on he also reveals that the iconic names of Bonnie, Chica, Freddy, and Foxy were just nicknames he had in development. He would call them that before actually coming up with their real names. However, after calling them that for so long, he grew attached to the names and ended up keeping them. Probably another good decision if I'm being honest. Can you imagine what it would be like if Bonnie was named like Albert or something? Actually, that would be scary.
And at 4, Nightmare voice line. In Ultimate Custom Night, you can fight off Nightmare, and his voice lines when he kills you can really prove what we've all been thinking. Well, most of us. Or some of us. I don't really know the ratio to Wilhelm versus Micatory believers in the comments. Nightmare's voice lines include, "You will not be spared, you will not be saved," indicating that someone has been spared or saved before. But from what? Well, this next line tells us, "I am your wickedness made of flesh." And who out of Mike and William is wicked? William, the killer of the series. His wickedness is killing, therefore Nightmare would be William's desire to kill personified. He also says, "The shadow fears me," and until this point I didn't know if he meant death or William himself. However, I think that this proves he means William, since the purple guy is the shadow of a man. William either fears his own desire to kill, or he fears the fact that it took his children from him, both Elizabeth and Crying Child. And to further prove this is William, Nightmare says, "I am here to claim what is left of you," since he was burnt to a crisp in FNAF 6's fire. So there isn't really much left, just like how his wickedness came to claim Crying Child.
And 3, genes. Last people, a lot of people seem to be confused by the genetics of the Afton family, and I've talked about it before, but I'll go over it again for everyone that's new here. Also, hi, thanks for subscribing. We're almost at 500k. That's insane. With genetics, what you see is not all that you get. For example, my sister and I both have dark hair. However, when mine is shorter, and even more so when I was a kid, my hair was much redder than hers. Much redder than it is now even. This is because red hair is a recessive gene. There are dominant and recessive genes, and it's easiest to describe this using a Punnett square. Let's look at this one for example. Let's say that we're crossbreeding bananas, one green and one more commonly yellow. The green color is dominant and the yellow is recessive, which means that if the banana lies in one of the top two spots and it has the green trait, it will be dominant and you'll see green, even if it has the yellow gene, because yellow is recessive and green is dominant. However, as you can see, it is possible to have a green banana have a yellow banana offspring, even if the banana is green, because it also has the yellow gene. So even with the dominant gene, the green banana could have a yellow offspring. Even with another green banana, in fact. However, if this was the case, that new banana would have a 25% chance of being yellow if it has two green parents, each with the yellow gene. Like I said, it's a 1 in 4 chance, but it's still possible. This is the case with Elizabeth, where a parent doesn't necessarily have to have the trait visually, but rather in their DNA. I'm not the best at explaining this, but you get the idea. However, Elizabeth isn't ginger, she's blonde, which I don't understand where you got that from. But blonde is also a recessive trait, so the same thing applies. And we haven't seen the mother, or even really William Afton, so she could be blonde. Maybe she also has blue eyes, which is dominant over green, but it's still possible if she has the green-eyed trait, and William does too. And Elizabeth isn't ginger, okay? She's blonde. I honestly don't know where you got that from. What? Come on. Watch the cutscene.
And it too, hallucinations. Some believe that there are two spirits possessing the security logbook, and that one of them is Crying Child. But I believe that these altered texts aren't another spirit, since it wouldn't make much sense for the two spirits to communicate in different ways, one using faded text and the other one altering what was already in the book, which seems very difficult to me. I believe that these are hallucinations that we're seeing from Mike's perspective. He writes in the book in red ink, and that's established early on. But by the end of the book, Mike is incredibly tired and stressed, as indicated by the incident logs on page 108. Something happened at 8:11, but we don't know if it was AM or PM. Considering how we don't start our shifting game until late, we can assume AM. However, we wouldn't get to work at exactly 12. He'd be there beforehand. And if he was having to fight off animatronics all night, he would certainly be stressed. Stress and fatigue would certainly cause hallucinations, and even if we aren't seeing this from Mike's perspective, we would be seeing it from ours. Maybe this is where Michael got the idea to use the name Mike in the first game. Maybe by reading this, we are Michael Afton learning about who we are. This could be where we get the idea to go to Sister Location, or it could be just before our father contacts us to go do so. Finally, in at number 1, Death by Afton. So many people in the series die because of William Afton. Obviously, he's the killer, the catalyst, the one who started it all. However, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Well, at least when she's possessed a robot. Remember FNAF World's original ending, the introduction of Baby? Well, she ended up killing Henry, the man who's sitting at the desk. We know this is Henry because, well, he says he made Baby and can't deactivate her, but he ended up getting killed. William wasn't dead at this point, and Henry was the only other one who could have helped in the creation of Baby. He did so not knowing what William was planning, I'm sure, but then Baby kills him. Now, Circus Baby's Pizza World was shut down after one day because of what it did to Elizabeth, so this would most likely take place after that, meaning that Elizabeth was inside Baby when she killed Henry. Elizabeth Afton, the sweet little girl who got too close to Baby, took Henry's life. It's kind of poetic when you think about it. Henry's daughter was taken by William, and Henry was taken by William's daughter. FNAF is full of tiny details. We've covered plenty of them over multiple lists. However, there are some details we've seen or the community has that just have since been forgotten or just hardly noticed, and those are what we're exploring today. Greetings gamers and welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. I'm Connor Monroe and this is the top 10 FNAF tiny details you don't really think about. Let's do it. And at 10, Nightmare. One thing that was mentioned when we first saw it but more so forgotten is the complexity of the security logbook. It messed with everything we knew about the series but then messed with everything we thought we knew about the logbook itself. One of the key things that sticks out to me is the fact that Mike drew Nightmare on page 41. Those were just an illusion, which we know thanks to the Ultimate Custom Night's death voice lines from characters like Nightmare Freddy, who said this time there is more than an illusion to fear, and I am given flesh to be your tormentor. So, how could Mike know what Nightmare looks like? Crying Child was in a coma while he was seeing them, so he couldn't have described them, especially in that much detail. Where'd he get it from? And at 9, FNAF World. Hell. FNAF World is a game I'm sure we'd all like to forget. However, what I'm seeing again and again is the importance of this game from a lore standpoint, both from the Helpy Facts lists as well as this one. From the Helpy Facts list, Helpy looks very similar to the style of the characters from FNAF World, and I propose that he could be a crossover character, linking the two games together in an unexpected way as an example of how you can escape a game world. But now I've seen that the characters of Tangle, White Rabbit, and Bounce Pot can all appear in Ultimate Custom Night, in motion using their battle animations. This not only links the game to the main FNAF canon, but also shows that William's idea of entering a video game and escaping from one came from FNAF World, a game that revolves around a game affecting the real world. And it ain't blood on the cover. The security logbook is a real point of contention for the series. Whatever, I'm not talking about what's inside the book content-wise. I'm talking about how there are literal pages covered or splattered with blood, and the restaurant just gave it to you as if nothing was wrong. What the hell happened to cause blood to get all over this thing? And thanks to the finish on the blood on the cover, at least the hardcover version, it's shiny, meaning it must be new. And I'm prone to nosebleeds, but I know that that is not a nosebleed. You don't lose that much blood. Well, unless you're me, but that's because I have veins that poke out of my nose, okay? I had to get the cauterized in elementary school, which means I had to get like 20 small burns on my nose in each side, okay? It was a mess. But not even that would generate this much blood. So why is it covered in blood? We see coffee stains, that makes sense, but blood? And why are they only mentioning that someone else wrote in the book, not bled all over it? That's not sanitary. And at 7, payoff. There has been a lot of crap that goes down in these restaurants. Missing kids, murder, animatronics that they felt needed access to a crime database to scan everyone that comes into the restaurant that ended up failing. But even after all of this, no lawsuits or anything? We saw papers talking about the missing children's incident, but nothing about lawsuits. The company shut down to downsize, but we've seen no evidence of a lawsuit or arrests. Sure, they had an investigation, but not a good one when there was obvious dead body stench coming from the animatronics. I don't care how sweaty and gross these kids and this pizza is, nothing would make it smell that bad normally. This to me indicates some form of a payoff at the very least, like maybe William has the police in his pocket, or a deal with someone saying that if he finds the key to living forever, that he shares it and he gets away. There has to be something more here. If I was a parent, I wouldn't stop until my kid had found justice. Like, where did these 15 kids' parents go? And at 6, performance. It has been stated before that the voice actor for William Afton, PJ Hayward, based his performance for the character off of Anthony Hopkins' version of Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs, who, if you didn't know, is a cold-blooded cannibal serial killer in the movie. So bad that he's behind a full glass wall instead of bars, so he won't bite your face off. What if this is for more reasons than just being creepy? I mean, no body, no crime, right? If William was eating the kids his robots were trapping, it could cause them enough agony to create more remnant, and more remnant means more studying for the mad scientist, and one step closer to the answer to immortality. He didn't take killing kids off the table, something that most people in prison will even kill you for if that's why you're thrown into the slammer, so eating them isn't really too much of a stretch for this guy. Maybe it started off with him thinking that that's how he was going to get the answer. I mean, he originally stuffed them into the stomachs of the animatronics, right? Halfway through number 5, exotic butters. The security logbook is really appearing a lot in this video, and that's because in the hype for Security Breach, we've forgotten all about the that is this book. Not only does Mike draw Nightmare in the book, a representation of Crying Child's death, he also draws things connecting him to other games, like exotic butters and baskets of money from Sister Location, or a gravestone seemingly similar to the ones from FNAF 6's gravestone ending, or the casual bongos from Sister Location, and a Freddy Fazbear logo with blood surrounding Freddy's mouth, like how Crying Child got chomped, or spooky animatronics and ghost sheets, which could be a reference to the missing children's incident from the first game, since FNAF VR's Curse of Dreadbear DLC wasn't out yet. And this is ironically on the same page as the maze, like the corn maze from that game. And why is there a picture of mangled up Chica on the very last page of this book? So many damn questions that we just forgot about thanks to the new game. It's exactly what he wanted. And at 4, Nightmare voice line. In Ultimate Custom Night, you can fight off Nightmare, and his voice lines when he kills you can really prove what we've all been thinking. Well, most of us. Or some of us. I don't really know the ratio to Wilhel versus Micatory believers in the comments. Nightmare's voice lines include, "You will not be spared, you will not be saved," indicating that someone has been spared or saved before. But from what? Well, this next line tells us, "I am your wickedness made of flesh." And who out of Mike and William is wicked? William, the killer of the series. His wickedness is killing, therefore Nightmare would be William's desire to kill personified. He also says the shadow fears me, and until this point I didn't know if he meant death or William himself. However, I think that this proves he means William, since the purple guy is the shadow of a man. William either fears his own desire to kill, or he fears the fact that it took his children from him, both Elizabeth and Crying Child. And to further prove this is William, Nightmare says, "I am here to claim what is left of you," since he was burnt to a crisp in FNAF 6's fire. So there isn't really much left, just like how his wickedness came to claim Crying Child. And at 3, debunked. On April 1st of the year or the year after it was released, Scott added Nightmare Freddy, Foxy, and Phone Guide to Ultimate Custom Night. Each of their mechanics was based on a debunked FNAF theory. Most interestingly, Nightmare Freddy's mechanics were based off of Dream Theory, proving that these games are actually happening and it's not a dream, which makes everything more complicated because now, God, we have to figure this out properly and can't just go around saying it was all a dream. Anyway, the Dream Theory along with Foxy being helpful and the Phone Guy being Purple Guy were all confirmed 100% false at this point, resulting in a whole lot more issues with the series because I can't just say that it was all a dream. Even if I wasn't doing it before, now I can't do it ever. Only FNAF 4 was a dream. It was like a coma dream. Great. And at 2, hallucinations. Some believe that there are 2 spirits possessing the security logbook, and that one of them is Crying Child. But I believe that these altered texts aren't another spirit, since it wouldn't make much sense for the 2 spirits to communicate in different ways, one using faded text and the other one altering what was already in the book, which seems very difficult to me. I believe that these are hallucinations that we're seeing from Mike's perspective. He writes in the book in red ink, and that's established early on. But by the end of the book, Mike is incredibly tired and stressed, as indicated by the incident logs on page 108. Something happened at 8:11, but we don't know if it was AM or PM. Considering how we don't start our shifting game until late, we can assume AM. However, we wouldn't get to work at exactly 12. He'd be there beforehand. And if he was having to fight off animatronics all night, he would certainly be stressed. Stress and fatigue would certainly cause hallucinations, and even if we aren't seeing this from Mike's perspective, we would be seeing it from ours. Maybe this is where Michael got the idea to use the name Mike in the first game. Maybe by reading this, we are Michael Afton learning about who we are. This could be where we get the idea to go to Sister Location, or it could be just before our father contacts us to go do so. Finally, in at number 1, death by Afton. So many people in the series die because of William Afton. Obviously, he's the killer, the catalyst, the one who started it all. However, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Well, at least when she's possessed a robot. Remember FNAF World's original ending, the introduction of Baby? Well, she ended up killing Henry, the man who's sitting at the desk. We know this is Henry because, well, he says he made Baby and can't deactivate her, but he ended up getting killed. William wasn't dead at this point, and Henry was the only other one who could have helped in the creation of Baby. He did so not knowing what William was planning, I'm sure, but then Baby kills him. Now, Circus Baby's Pizza World was shut down after 1 day because of what it did to Elizabeth, so this would most likely take place after that, meaning that Elizabeth was inside Baby when she killed Henry. Elizabeth Afton, the sweet little girl who got too close to Baby, took Henry's life. It's kind of poetic when you think about it. Henry's daughter was taken by William, and Henry was taken by William's daughter. And it's the Bite of 87. The Bite of 87 is one of the biggest contention points in the whole FNAF series. It makes some theories, breaks others, and has been debated since the very first game when we learned about this very mysterious incident. However, we've never really been able to determine who caused the bite. It's typically thought to be Jeremy who got bit, but who did the biting? Some think Mangle, others think Fredbear, and some think Toy Chica. And some think Chica thanks to Ultimate Custom Night, which honestly just outright tells us who caused the bite if you listen to Toy Chica's death lines. One of which being, "Where's my beak?" Lodged in your forehead, of course.
Where's my beak? Lodged in your forehead, of course.
Which is where the frontal lobe is located, which is the part of the brain removed in the Bite of 87. This could also allude to Scott's clue on MatPat's FNAF livestream that said why would Toy Chica be missing her beak? And it would be because she caused the Bite of 87, and without the beak, she couldn't hurt anyone else. Like how I keep saying my pug can't really hurt anyone because he can't fit his flat mouth around you unless you willingly like give him a finger or something. I don't know why he scares people. And the 9 Scrap Trap. What the hell happened to Springtrap between games to cause such warps? Sure, he was burnt in FNAF 3, but we've seen him alive and well and not damaged in Sister Location's Night 7 ending cutscene, so where did all this additional damage and warping come from? The head becomes larger and so do the feet. I genuinely don't know how this would make sense. We know they're the same person thanks to Ultimate Custom Night's voice lines, but I'm so confused as to what could have happened. I'm sure the extra damage comes from fending off wild animals, since you you know, he's a body that would attract scavengers, but how did the head of the suit get bigger? It's not like it evolved. My only guess is that William either broke into some Fazbear warehouse like the one he visits in the Man in Room 1280, or he made a new one to try to protect him better, since we see extensive damage and I don't really know how much time there is between Sister Location and Pizzeria Simulator, so like, he could have been out there for a while. And it ate Ballora. FNAF Ultimate Custom Night really has a lot of lore hints and clues for us, so it will be appearing a lot on this list and in other lists in the future, I'm sure. I'm just now starting to understand the importance of this game for all of FNAF lore. One of these clues, however, is one of Ballora's death lines from Ultimate Custom Night. After killing you, Ballora will on occasion say, "These are strange circumstances that have brought us together."
These are strange circumstances that have brought us together.
And I'm sorry, but based on her other lines, I don't think she's just talking about how they're in hell or in purgatory. I think that this is about how they met. Well, how William and the woman that Ballora represents met. In a previous video, I theorized that maybe Vlad and Clara from Immortal and the Restless perhaps represent William and Henry's wife, a scandalous affair that drove him into killing Charlotte so that he could be with her, since she would have no ties to Henry anymore. But I wasn't sure of it. But honestly, those would be strange circumstances that could have brought them together. I mean, maybe he didn't kill Charlotte to be with her, but killing Charlotte drove her away from Henry into the arms of another man. Williams, perhaps. I mean, she asks, "Why do you hide inside your walls?" Maybe she's talking to Henry and not William. And it's 7 Stranger Danger. Ultimate Custom Night has some funny lines and moments. Comedy gold in the form of Mr. Hippo's death lines, or rather speeches about Lemonade, and Happy Frog and her ninja skills. However, one of the most iconic and funny lines has to come from Ned Bear. I don't know why these animatronics go so hard in this game, but whatever. Not only does he joke about being killed by obscure secondary characters, but he also just yells Stranger Danger.
Stranger danger!
I think it's funny and a nice detail because, well, that's the one line that could have saved countless lives. But instead, the kids followed Golden Bonnie to the back room for more pizza, and instead of getting stuffed crust, they got stuffed into a suit. Literally, Stranger Danger would have saved their little lives, but they didn't listen to their parents. It's a shame, really, and it's kind of nuts of me to think that this is funny, but I mean, it is. Ned Bear is the only one thinking straight in this world, and I am here for it. I stan Ned Bear. Ned's Declassified Pizzeria Survival Guide. Scott, get the rights and make it a thing. And at 6, the one you should not have added. Scott has added a whole load of characters into the series, so much so that there are too many characters for my taste in Ultimate Custom Night. But some of the characters he's added are a little too familiar for him, and it could have lore implications that we don't know about yet. Firstly, Scott added himself into FNAF lore. Sure, it's not him, it's not Scott Cawthon, but he is the face of the indie game developer that made some games about the tragedies in the FNAF world. He used a picture of himself when he could have used anyone, hell, a stock photo, or even nobody. Then we have Cassidy, the one you should not have killed. This one is Scott's son, as confirmed by Scott himself in either a Reddit or Steam post, I don't quite remember which, meaning that Scott's son, in universe, is dead. Yikes. And he also added the rest of his family, just subtly, since all the FNAF 4 pictures of family or kids that are visible in the hallways are of his family, since you didn't have to pay for any stock images or anything, as confirmed by Scott in the same post I referred to earlier, addressing the one you should not have killed. The one you should not have added, since now they're technically dead. Get it now? Halfway through number 5, final moments. Something seems off to me about this game. Why would William be tortured in hell by a version of himself? That version, of course, being Scrap Trap. And I think it's an issue that multiple people have, and why the whole mic trap thing is so popular. Well, this is probably William's life just flashing before his eyes. Every animatronic in this game William has had something to do with. He was there in FNAF 6, he was Scrap Trap, he created the animatronics and the Sister Location animatronics, he caused the Nightmare animatronics to be created in the mind of Crying Child. This is basically his whole life flashing before his eyes, but not in order, all at once. Torturing him for his misdeeds and the horrible things he's done. Maybe he regrets it, and that's why he shows up as well. Or maybe he only regrets losing his children. Hence why all his version says is, "I always come back," since he hopes his children could do the same, or wishes they could. And at 4, Wake Up. Nightmarion, or Nightmarionette, whatever you want to call it, is one of the scariest animatronics there is. Added in the Halloween DLC for FNAF 4, Scott deemed him not canon, but he's still here in Ultimate Custom Night, saying, "I am the dark reflection of what you have created."
I am the fearful reflection of what you have created.
The puppet. since William killed Charlotte, who ended up possessing it. But that's not the line I wanted to focus on, we knew that already. What I wanted to acknowledge was the line, "This is a nightmare you won't wake from."
This is a nightmare that you won't wake from.
This is a subtle way of saying that someone woke up from the nightmare before. Like someone may have woken up before, but this is a nightmare you won't wake from. Who would have woken up, you ask? Who else was the only other person to see the nightmare animatronics? Michael. Sorry, Crying Child. Oh wait, same thing. This line also helps prove my point. Crying Child somehow survived or was saved from death, like Nightmare also seems to hint towards, but we heard a flatline at the end of FNAF 4. That's because he was removed from the machine, not because he had died. I'm telling you, it's a thing. Getting close to the end into number 3, FNAF Multiverse. The FNAF multiverse is already a thing. The original novels are their own universe, despite sharing characters and plot points. The Fazbear Frights books are their own universe, even though they help answer other questions that we've had, like Scott said himself when he announced the original 5, and the games are their own universe. But what if the games themselves are multiple universes? There are so many points that conflict with themselves when trying to establish a timeline. MatPat decided to put emphasis on the events that were mentioned later in the timeline, but what if they conflict because they're not the same Earth? I mean, we have the FNAF game multiverse thanks to the Fazbear Fanverse initiative Scott started, funding some installments in new fan games and helping them with marketing, retail, and merch. So why not have the games or the events of the games that don't help the timeline take place in another universe? I mean, it would screw up a load of stuff, but it could help explain a load of stuff too. He didn't start a fanverse for no reason. There has to be some sort of tie-in. Penultimately in number 2, Burning. Look, I'm all for setting the souls of the damned free of their chains and letting them move on. But we need to remember the souls that we're dealing with in this series. They're typically kids, right? But doesn't it feel weird knowing what happens when you think of it like that? Sure, we set the kids free in FNAF 3, but we know the Remnant can only be destroyed with fire, and since the kids are still here thanks to the Remnant, we have to burn Fazbear Frights down, causing the fire at the end of the game, but also causing the souls of the victims to be set free. We're burning the kids on the regular in this series. And in FNAF 6 we burn a load of them thanks to Molten Freddy, who's entered, so he has multiple different souls. And the only one who wasn't a kid, William, managed to escape and got sent to the hospital where he would be taken to a Fazbear warehouse so he could possess a hard drive and come back to life again. It's nuts, man. I don't understand why so many kids have to suffer in this series. Scott must not be good with discipline. Or he uses what happens in these games as discipline. Attaboy, Scott. Strike fear into their hearts. That's what my dad did. Finally, in at number 1, the real protagonist. Orville the Elephant in Ultimate Custom Night is one of the animatronics that's really memeable. Not as memeable as his counterparts perhaps, but he does give us a lot of information if you're paying attention. Take this one line from Ultimate Custom Night for example. He tried to release you, he tried to release us, but I won't let that happen. I will keep you here, I will hold you here, no matter how many times they burn us.
He tried to release you. He tried to release us. But I'm not gonna let that happen. I will hold you here. I will keep you here. No matter how many times they burn us.
Hold on a second. If this is really the voice of Cassidy, Golden Freddy, speaking through the elephant, then why would they say he tried to release you? He tried to release us. Henry was the one who tried to release William in FNAF 6, we know this from his end speech, and we know that's the one that Cassidy is referring to since they said I won't let that happen, which is why they're doing it at that exact moment. But we thought that Michael was the one who released the spirits of the kids in FNAF 3, which is where Golden Freddy has their happiest day. Could it be that we've been playing as Henry this whole time with the exception of Sister Location? I mean, we didn't release any souls in Sister Location. That would mean Henry is Mike Schmidt, and that the Mike who owned the logbook would be Henry, and that we'd be reading it as Michael Afton? This may deserve its own video. Holy crap, this could change everything. And at 10, MatPat is canon, kinda. Thanks to the Fazbear Frights book Bunny Call, and more so the story in the flesh, MatPat is basically canon in the FNAF universe. Sure, it's kinda nuts that Scott wrote an MPreg fanfic about MatPat, but the crazier thing is that makes MatPat canon in the FNAF world. Technically, since the character's name isn't Matthew Patrick, and he's working on a new FNAF game and not a new FNAF theory, but he's MatPat's in-universe stand-in. While game theory or Dawko may not be canon, the essence of MatPat is, and he ended up getting killed by a plush trap baby that crawled crawled its way out of his stomach. I haven't finished the story, mostly because I keep cringing so hard, but I don't understand how working on a video game turns into an animatronic crawling out of your stomach, killing you instantly. But hey, it's FNAF, and this is yet another instance of someone escaping from a game and entering the real world. However, this time it's Springtrap, which is a version of William Afton, so joy. I guess he will be busting out of the game. And a 9 confirmation. The actual confirmed information we have about the FNAF series is limited. Basically, Scott has only said a few things are true and a few things are false. The rest of these theories about the timeline and the logbook are all based on other theories. Scott hasn't confirmed the name of Crying Child or the name of the Afton family mother. He hasn't even confirmed if William had a wife or if his kids are adopted. He hasn't confirmed if the logbook is possessed or if Michael is the brother. Those are still just theories, not fact. And people treating these theories as fact and hating on things that aren't exactly what MatPat has said is extremely misguided. I think you know where I'm going with this. Scott has confirmed that Springtrap is William. He's confirmed that Dream Theory, Foxy being kind, and the phone guy being William Afton or Purple Guy aren't true in the April Fool's mechanics for Fredbear, Foxy, and Phone Guy for Ultimate Custom Night. And he's confirmed that Sister Location takes place in 1983, but not Who Did the Bite of 87. He's also confirmed that Glitch Trap is William Afton using the Easter egg from Curse of Dreadbear, where Glitch Trap dances next to the FNAF 4 house in the distance, an Easter egg I showed off in our recent FNAF VR livestream. So stop coming to the comments of my theories saying that Michael can't possibly be the Crying Child because he's Foxy, bro. I said he was both, not one or the other. It's incredibly disrespectful to the research and effort I put into that video. It's just as valid a theory as anything MatPat suggests. Okay, rant over. Thank you for coming to my Fred Talk. And an 8 Phone Guy death. Phone Guy's death from the first FNAF game is ultra sus. Firstly, we hear banging on a closed door, something that only happens because of Foxy. But then we hear Freddy's theme, March of the Toreador. Then some groaning that's only given off by Bonnie and Chica, and then Golden Freddy's jump scare. Why all of this attention? Only on night 5 does it get this intense for the player, and the Phone Guy only has 4 nights, so why did this character come to such a horrific end? And who actually did the killing? We know that the Phone Guy thought he'd get stuffed into a suit, hence why he asked us to check them, or maybe he was planning on hiding in a suit to try to survive, since the main theory in this game is that they put you in a suit because you look like a naked endoskeleton and that's against company policy. But why would Golden Freddy have been the one to kill him? The other animatronics have priority while killing, at least mechanics wise, so why on earth is that happening in that room? Like, what's going on? I don't know. And at 7, Smiling Purple Guy. The first time we see the Purple Guy was in FNAF 2, and in the Foxy Go 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 minigame we see him sitting in the corner smiling. This is the Purple Guy, by the way, not some pink guy. Scott confirmed that in the minigame section of the Freddy Files book. But in that minigame we see the Purple Guy smiling while Foxy runs out to greet 5 dead kids. Why? This originally led us to believe that the Phone Guy was Purple Guy, since Phone Guy also says he loves Foxy and distrusts the puppet. But as I said earlier, this was confirmed not to be the case by Scott himself, so why is the Purple Guy smiling? Is it because William's favorite animatronic was Foxy as well? Or was it because he was happy about the killings or seeing Foxy's reaction to it? Which wouldn't really make sense because these are animatronics, right? Or at this point maybe they were already possessed, which led to the child possessing Foxy to discover the 5 victims. And then maybe that gave William a sense of power, or he liked his reaction. I don't know. And at 6, FNAF Plus. The Fazbear Fanverse Initiative is a program created by Scott Cawthon that gives popular fan game creators the chance to have their games reach a wider audience and be backed by Scott Cawthon himself, helping them with merch, distribution, and console ports in some cases. However, one of the games in this program is FNAF Plus, a reimagining/fan remake of the first game, with new assets, new models, and coding. The trailers make it seem way more intense and scary than the original, and it has a lot of implications for this universe. First off, it's not the same Freddy's we know, but since games like Five Nights at Candy's have connections to the FNAF restaurant, they appear to need to have one to fill that story. So this is kinda pushing them away from the main FNAF canon. But it also has implications with one of the other games, Joy of Creation's Ignited Collection, since in Joy of Creation you play as Scott Cawthon, or the creator of the FNAF series, who's on the run from the animatronics, which makes me think that maybe this is the universe that Help Wanted was referring to when they said a rogue indie game dev created games to make fun of the situation. Maybe the Fazbear Fanverse Initiative games are those games, and this is the aftermath of the series ending? Halfway through it at number 5, Multiverse. This also basically canonically inserts a FNAF multiverse into the franchise, which was already the case thanks to the several book series, but also opens the door to various other timelines. Like, what if what we've been seeing isn't one timeline, but multiple? And this means that, technically, every single FNAF theory has been correct in one universe. In one universe, Foam Guy is Purple Guy. In another, Scott Cawthon is the name of the indie game developer. In one universe, I am guaranteed to be right with my theories, but that also means that every single person, no matter how outlandish the theory is, will be right at some point in one of the FNAF universes. And that's pretty cool, but also freaky. What if it's revealed that from FNAF 2 to now, all the games took place in the fanverse, since Freddy from FNAF 2, not Toy Freddy, but like normal Freddy, I guess normal, and the FNAF Plus Freddy look fairly similar. Uh-oh, I can feel the hate comments coming. And 4 hanging scientists. The sister location hanging scientists weren't there before they were revealed to us. It's meant to show us that Ennard is able to and willing to kill anything getting in his way. But that means that there were other people working there while we were there during sister location. I don't know why though, since it was literally filled with deadly animatronics. And the only reason we were sent there was to put her back together like William had somehow asked us to do. But like, why were there others there? Was the business still running? Is that what Chica's Party World was? We know they were renting out animatronics, but why were there so many remaining? I thought they had stopped, especially when they were only used for one day. Like, I mean, we know why Baby wasn't rented, but the others? I don't know. It's weird, but I guess I'm not here to judge how someone runs their business. Getting close to the end in a number 3 8-bit canon. The 8-bit minigames are very confusing. Shout out to Tessa, one of our editors, for this idea. She edits most of the FNAF videos and apparently they make her want to play the game, so all I have to say is good luck. But she mentioned how weird these minigames are, and up until this point I did really forget about that. Having to glitch through a wall in order to give the spirit of a kid cake so that you can ultimately release all their souls in the real world to get the good ending. Like, what? That means that those 8-bit minigames have to be canon, but also real. Like, how do these games actually present themselves in real life? There's no way that we as Shadow Bonnie are just flying around breaking into pieces, or are they in their own universe and are able to cross over at will? And if we can do the same by playing these, does that mean we're dead as well? Oh wait, sorry, that works too much with my Michael is both Crying Child and Foxy Bro theory, so people are gonna get mad. I'll stop. Hashtag not salty. Not salty at all. And ultimately in a number 2, Forgetting Baby. One of Baby's most famous lines is, "I guess you forgot about me," which she says to William during Ultimate Custom Night. At least from my understanding it's a famous line, or an important one to say the least, since this implies a whole bunch of things right off the bat. Instantly we get confirmation that Elizabeth is William Afton's daughter, since she wouldn't be saying this to a complete stranger. I mean, I guess it was also confirmed that she was his daughter in sister location. When Michael said I did it, I put her back together. But like, more confirmation is always good. And as well, this proves that William just ditched his daughter. Sure, he didn't forget about her since he sent Michael to go and put her back together, but he also didn't go see her. He gets burnt in FNAF 6, but until that point he hadn't even been in the same room as his daughter. So she must be pretty pissed, hence why she's one of his enemies while in a coma. This could also mean that he regrets not being able to see her and that he actually does care about her, since these would all be manifestations of William's subconscious. Meaning that any theory about William hating his daughter because maybe she killed the mother during childbirth or something similar are confirmed wrong, since he clearly loved her and regrets what happened and how he couldn't see her. Finally, in a number 1, Fazbear Fright's Connection. The Fazbear Frights books have been the foundation for a load of FNAF theories as of late, mostly because we aren't getting to see any really new security breach trailers, probably up until the game actually drops at this point, but this ended up causing a lot of division in the community, since most people don't think the books have anything to do with the games, especially in the case of the original novels. However, I'd like to direct your attention to a post made by Scott Cawthon announcing the Fazbear Frights books, where he said that the books will help solve mysteries or issues we've had in the series. So it's 100% allowed to create a theory for the story of the games based on evidence from a Fazbear Frights book. Not only that, but while the games may not be directly connected to the original novels, they are from the same brain as the games, therefore will share similarities. So it's really just ignorant to disregard those as well. I'm gonna get hate for this video anyway, so I might as well say it. thank you for coming to my Fred Talk number 2. There we have it, friends, the top 10 FNAF tiny details you don't really think about part 3. What other details should I include if we do a part 4? And what detail from this video made you think the most? And which one made you hate me the most? Be sure you let me know down below. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been and shall remain Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video, unless the haters get me first.